I nearly gave in to the
Yep, that's a good girl.
What's happening?
Yeah, a quake of this kind preceded the...
It can't be.
Well, there's no need to worry too much about that. No.
Yeah, I hope you're right. But the people of Poisson... It's true. I once had informants all over to... I've tried all kinds of ways to, but all my efforts prove to be... We cannot make an enemy of the divine. No matter what we do. Give up. Indeed, I've thought about fate is real, but just now, it all became clear to me. As long as the final moment hasn't come, don't worry. Well, that's enough for now. I got the input. Don't take any of what I just said seriously.
Come on! Paimon could have sworn you were...
Share, that's impossible. It was fated right from the start that... A witness. Yeah, and if Tevat is in its entirety, if that's the case...
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes my opening performance. Now, without further ado, we may proceed to the trial of our god.
So, this is what it is. Do not forget, however, that I am Focalor, the...
May I interpret these words as your refusal to stand? In that case, you will have the opportunity to defend your honor through a duel.
You would draw your blade against a god? I see. It seems like you have made up your...
Paimon can't believe it.
What the heck is going on?
Wow, how utterly humiliating.
Lady Furina, what is the meaning of this?
Shh! It would seem that there has been a misunderstanding.
Looking for excuses again.
I raised my hands just now to indicate my I will admit that I'm sorry, everyone. You are not the only ones. But now, I, Furina, will use this trial to show the world this time, I will applaud and rejoice. Mark my words, this shall be one of the most exhilarating and brilliant shows ever to grace the stage of Fontaine!
Woohoo!
Oh, now we're... Why does it feel like Furina just took over the whole... Also, even though she's still acting super dramatic...
All right, then. Who will be...
The court asks the prosecutor to please take the stand.
Is that so? Very well. Also, please allow me to ask, Nazi, just how much work did you do?
Well, we did do a lot of prep after the meeting that day.
I can go over the tasks assigned to the Spina di Rosula. since they...
Navia, the president of the Spina di Rasul.
Most of the people who participated in the disturbance this morning, they changed into plain clothes and came to the opera house. The people's resentment against their Archon has been building as... Moreover, according to our understanding and analysis, so we arranged for a second group.
So, you mean...
And their goal was to force you to step into the giant magic box.
That's right. That house was a
As the super ultimate version of the setup that I used, the volume of the box was increased by a whole order of magnitude, and the distance it traversed was the entire gap between Poisson and Aranias. Was an Archon. My thanks, Furina. Without your help, we could...
You're welcome?
Of course, this performance was only made possible with Father's support. We had to select a location, construct the giant magic box.
So, in other words...
That's right. It wasn't a sign of another disaster.
Then, I can guess Nervillette and you gathered a crowd, prepared a stage, and also that as soon as I appeared...
Yes, that is...
Well, Clorand, I must commend you for your courage.
Thank you.
As for you, traveler, you'd make sure that I didn't notice anything amiss before revealing yourself as my prosecutor. Oh? It's fine. It matters. The stage is already set, so there's no reason to disappoint the audience. Let's see this trial through.
Sir Prosecutor, please allow me to pass this along. This is a document that Miss Charlotte applied...
Huh? Charlotte wanted to give us something? Oh, so she's here too! Oh, let Paimon see. Wait, then that means this... So in other words, we can refer to this anthology of evidence. Let's quickly confirm the information in it. Just think of it as a refresher, alright?
You defeated the Hydro Archon in the very first duel you took part in at the opera. I didn't think that you'd wind up getting to the bottom of the case. This is the first time Monsieur Nervillette had a difference of opinion. A Fatui Harbinger. She's an extraordinary person. The fortress of Meripede was almost destroyed. According to Monsieur Nervillette, I nearly lost my awesome friend Navia. To be honest, the words of someone as extraordinary as a witch can probably only be truly understood when some...
The prosecution and the defense are both in position. The trial shall now begin.
Oh, come on, Nervillette. There's no need to repeat all the unimportant legalese. Just fast forward to the part where the prosecution lays out my offenses. Of course, it is only natural for humans to struggle to
That's true. But my charge here is unrelated to your conduct as an Archon. Instead, I would like to charge you as a fraud who's never been the...
Wait, what was that? Lady Furina's a fraud?
Hey, I came here thinking that we were...
Charge accepted. Lady Furina, do you plead guilty to the charge? Lady Furina.
I plead not guilty. There is no way that I, Focalor, otherwise known as Furina de Fontaine, a member of the Seven and the Regina of all waters, kindreds, peoples, and laws of Fontaine.
Yeah, even though Lady Furina...
Yeah, I've never questioned her identity either. Sure,
I have cause to believe that common sense will prevail in this case. Many of the members of the audience have known me as the Hydro Archon ever since they... See? Even the Oratrice has decided to show me its favor. If you wish to drop the case, I can promise you...
An argument with near impossible odds, huh? You have to not only refute Furina's claims, but also...
Well, I tried to give you the chance. And if I was not the Archon...
That doesn't sound right. Paimon doesn't think this clue can be used. First of all, you may be a member of another long-lived race.
Who gave you that idea? Was it the knave? You'd sink so low.
A curse. I once thought it possible that the aura of an Archon, but in light of this claim, perhaps what I sensed was not your—
You sensed it too, huh, Neverlet?
Lady Furina is actually a human?
Well, it is true that it's extremely difficult.
Well, don't start celebrating too early now. Besides, everyone knows that the main difference between a human and for centuries, manifestations of one need only to turn their eyes towards the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal in this very opera house.
You tried to reference the Oratrice. But weren't you as confused as all the rest of us when the Oratrice declared child—
Didn't I make myself clear at the time? The decisions—
Lady Furina, I believe a reminder of your current— While the court is in session, the principles of justice, you will prove yourself unable to defend against the prosecution.
I never thought you'd use that kind of rhetoric against me.
That was no trick of rhetoric, Lady Furina. I've merely
So, you neither knew why Child was declared guilty, instead of having been created by you, the
real Hydro Archon. It is true that I did not know why, but the Oratrice handed out that verdict unilaterally. You can't argue that just because a divine creation is flawed, that the
She's still throwing out all kinds of excuses. Seems like she's confident that we won't be able—
My power as an Archon. There are many ordinary citizens in the audience. How can I just care—
If that poses a concern, I'm prepared—
Aren't you the Hydro Archon? Or is it the—
Indemnitium! Yes! It's all because of Indemnitium! All Archons derive their power from the faith of the people, and I've converted the people's faith in justice into Indemnitium. Thus did I give up all of my divine power to provide—
Isn't that?
Yeah, no matter how generous an Archon can be, how could they give up all their power?
It seems like nobody's buying Furina's excuse.
Hey, come now, everyone. I'm still the same Furina you knew, right? The one, please. You've got to believe me.
If what the prosecutor said is true,
Did she deceive all of us? And all of our parents and grandparents too?
Enough. That's enough. Tell me then, if you have no evidence of another Hydro Archon's existence—
Wow, she came up with yet another argument. It has been established that all Fontainians can dissolve in water from the primordial sea. And that means—
Since you insist on claiming to be a god and not a human, then there's a method that you can use right here and now.
Miss Navia, please apply to serve as a temporary
Super sorry, Monsieur. Now, I've brought some seawater from Poisson, including those of some of my— So, Miss Furina, would you dare to touch some of— If we are to believe that you are indeed the real Hydro Archon, touching the seawater— But if you don't dare to touch it, then we would have basically proved the reverse. Oh, and I must remind you that after I do hope you'll act prudently and choose the simpler path of admitting guilt.
Navia from the Spina di Rasula. The Spina has—
If Lady Furina is indeed just a human, she's probably Fontainian.
Lady Furina, this test has been unilaterally proposed by the prosecution. As it—
Well, of course he had to tell her that. But refusing to participate—
She's just staring at the water without saying a single—
What's going on? Is she really planning?
Due to the inherent risk of the test, Lady Furina, you—
Woo!
really am!
Miss Siegewin? If you're present, Miss Siegewin, please...
Siegewin?
Don't be nervous. It'll just take a few seconds. That should be enough.
Please announce the results of your evaluation.
As everyone doubtlessly saw, Miss Furina was displaying she was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure.
Thank you, Miss Siegewin. Lady Furina, you may return...
Oh, wait. What did she just say? I didn't get dissolved!
Well, considering your tendency to run from your problems, however, after extensive discussion, we exchanged it for a sample that is not concentrated. We don't want anyone else to lose their life.
Yeah, so out of regard for Furina's life, you secured... It's a great thing that the direct...
I can't believe... You... Listen to me, everyone! Please don't think about it! How can you conclusively prove that an Archon... Also, if I was really just... Please, anyone, just listen to me! I swear, I really am your
I don't think anything she says at this point was...
With all the things that have been said, Paimon doesn't think there's any way left...
I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway me. She's too stacked against her now.
In my capacity as Chief Justice, I shall now render judgment on Furina's misrepresentation of herself as the Archon of Fontaine. As a human who knowingly deceived her fellow citizens, Furina is... guilty. We shall now turn to the oratrice mechanism. According to the judgment of the oratrice mécanique d'analyse...
Well, what's wrong? What's the oratrice's...
No, the oratrice also displays a guilt.
Isn't that correct then?
However, the exact wording of the verdict is thus. The Hydro Archon, guilty, to be punished via the death sentence.
That's actually one of the available sentences?
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court. And it's been given to...
Furina's been sentenced to death by the oratrice?
This outcome is indeed quite strange. According to Fontaine's... Is this sentence really appropriate for the...
Yeah! Even Fauché wasn't sentenced to death by the oratrice. You know, the real evil master...
Indeed. Not only is Furina's sentence overly excessive, but now, the oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked...
Excuse me, if I may interrupt. Is the trial
Fremine! You finally made it!
Mm-hmm. Any mission, Father.
Is that the first prophecy? Huh. So the knave private...
I looked everywhere and finally found it at... But has the trial already concluded?
Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Fremine. Please allow me to review the record. Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other
Huh? So what do you see? What
I believe I've now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime.
Huh? Isn't the Hydro Archon just guilty of deceiving her people? So when you say Hydro Archon...
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until... However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they could...
Okay, let's try to recall the contents of... The first stone slate describes what you just said. It seems to show the previous Hydro Archon using her does that mean that Fontainians are transformed Oceanids? The second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro This must be the point when the Hydro Archon and the Fontainians were... The third slate shows the Hydro Archon seek... That reminds Paimon. Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy the Fontainians have... They didn't believe that such a crazy disaster could happen.
We know from the case of the serial disappearances of young women that and the first stone slate tells us that long ago this might be the reason that
That doesn't sound quite right. That doesn't sound quite...
It's not as simple as falling into the sea. The stone slates show the people gathered around the Hydro Archon in the sea.
That doesn't sound quite...
Perhaps what is about to take place has all happened before. The true sin of the Hydro Archon that Nervalette mentioned, and the... The prophecy from the stone slates found its way into society. The fortress of Meropide was nearly flooded with primordial sea if we hadn't dealt with it in time.
They'll dissolve into the primordial sea but won't cease to exist. The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court. Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meropide was the surest sign that the prophecy's contents can all be verified by recent events.